No, on here.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock. We have the regular agenda before us. This is our regular virtual session for April the 12th, 2021, starting at 4 o'clock. For the record, this is the board's 14th regular meeting conducted virtually via Zoom due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Staff and board members were functioning accordingly and would conduct the business of the day as under normal conditions. The meeting was streamlined live via YouTube and recorded for availability to the public and media on the Tax Assessors website at AugustaRichmondCountyTaxAssessors.com. Past meetings were also available on the same website. We have the original agenda before us. We'd like to call the meeting to order. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it. Approval of a
Madam
regular agenda is needed.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to request that 3 items be added under other matters to our agenda for today.
Okay.
Under other matters, board chairman,
Okay.
number 2, in-service session, and number 3, summer conference.
Ms. Burnett, did you say summer conference?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so noted, Ms. Barney. Still need an approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda with the stated additions under other matters.
All in favor
Second.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No, the ayes have it. Need an approval of the regular meeting minutes from March the 12th, 2021.
Come in.
Second.
So move.
All in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes. Okay. We have a new board member introduction. We have Ms. Mura Dow. We'd like to welcome you aboard. I know you don't start officially until the 24th, I believe, of next month, but we would still like to welcome you. If everyone would take the time to introduce themselves so she'll know who you are.
Hello, Ms. Dial. I'll get it started off. Welcome to BOA. We're glad to have you. I'm Juanita Burney.
Yes, ma'am. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Welcome aboard with us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Welcome aboard, James Scott.
Welcome, Ms. Dahl. It's Brian Simpkins.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Ms. Giles. I'm Bob O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Welcome, Ms. Dowles. I am officially Henry Middleton, but I prefer to be called Frank.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And I'm
And Ms. Dow.
Francine Scott. I'm the commissioner from Super District 9, which is 1, 2, 4, and 5. I am the liaison from the commissioner. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Ms. Dial. I'm Nieta Coleman, the Board of Assessors Secretary. We've communicated by email. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to put a face with an email.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Dowell, I'm Ms. DeAntoinette. Nice to meet you and welcome aboard.
Thank you. You too.
I would also like to take this time to announce that the staff would like to present Mr. Lee with a parting gift to show their appreciation. Due to him not being here today, that will be presented to him at a later time. So I'd just like to go ahead and make that announcement also. So right now we're moving on to the Board of Assessors Committee reports, Specialized Assessment and Obsolescence Committee.
Ms. Dana, no, we did not have a meeting this month. There's a repeat of things that have already been done before, and Mr. Scott will pick that up in his report. Okay,
thank you for that. With the Personnel Review Committee, we did not have any meetings or anything to report. So with that, we'd like to take a moment to say, make the staff recommendations or board assessors committee reports. I think we need to vote on that. Am I correct, Ms. Coleman?
You can vote on them individually or together as committees.
Okay, so I think we'll just vote on them together since no meetings were held for either. So we'd like to make a report, or I would like for you all to go ahead and vote on the staff Board of Assessors committee report, specialized assessments, and personnel review committee. All in favor?
Inasmuch as there is no report,
meeting.
inasmuch as there is no report, we don't have to vote on it. It'll just be noted that there were no reports.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Moving on to staff recommendations, Personnel Property, Ms. Terry Bouges.
Good afternoon. I wanted to start off saying we do have some homestead exemption staff recommendation. One of them was actually a drop homestead per request of an owner, and that was for 17, 18, and 19. So that was a little bit unusual. So I just wanted to mention that. The other thing that we have is DeLago Contracting Incorporated. It was on your regular business returns and your exceptions. Mr. DeLago owns a mobile home dealership, and he had to file returns for 18, 19, and 20. There was a taxpayer that was trying to register a mobile home in Columbia County, and they did not have proof the taxes were paid. And Mr. DeLago didn't have returns filed. So that's the reason for the increases on DeLago Contracting Incorporated. So just bring that to your attention. And if, does anybody have any further questions? I'll be glad to answer them.
Any further questions pertaining to the personnel property? I know I called earlier today and I discussed this with Ms. Bouges because I was inquiring about the same piece of property that she mentioned, and it was explained that he had not paid his taxes for that year. And so my thing is, with the breakdown, so you have the document on the screen for everyone to look at. So some people that are looking at it on YouTube may not be aware of how to read that document. If you could put that back up on the screen for just a second.
Yeah, Keldrick, do page 3 of 5. That's the first one that it's on. You'll see DeLago Contracting, and you'll see the board value is $236,362 with a current value of $644,768. And he had paid his taxes, but he had paid on the wrong value. So I just wanted to clarify that. He had to actually file a return for mobile homes that were on his lot as of January 1 of each year. So that increased his inventory. And the rest of those are displayed on page 5 of 5. And it just shows there were changes made for 18 and 19.
Mr. W.
Yes.
The one on page 3 of 5, what year is that for?
For 20.
That is for 2020.
2020, yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And that was my question for Ms. Bouges earlier also, because it showed that the 2018 value was 514, and then it went up in 2019 at 671, and then in 2020 it decreased to 644, which she explained to me that some of the mobile homes had been removed or either purchased. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that, so those people that were looking at the document on YouTube have a clear explanation and understanding as to how to read that document. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions for personnel property? If there are none, we're moving on to residential property. Ms. Nancy Greer.
So Nancy is not in the meeting today, and I do not believe that they have any board work submitted today.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions though pertaining to the residential property that you reviewed? Hearing none, moving on to commercial property auditors, Mr. Funk.
Good afternoon. How is everybody today?
Fine.
Good.
We're fine, thank you for asking.
So I'm only going to share a couple of things here, and it doesn't look like it's wanting to share it.
I can see your personal property return
All right.
report, Brian.
Good. That's not what's showing up on my screen. Thank you.
Okay.
So one of the things I was going to talk about is this personal property return report. This was developed in-house mainly through our Project Central and Keldrick hike. This is the first year of us utilizing this report. You know, the hopes of this report was to really be able to analyze what comes in at what times and how far along we are in progressing through the processing of these many personal property returns we receive. I will say the 4,145 number filed is still incomplete. There are some still coming in and still being entered into the system. So that number will continue to go up. The number completed and the remaining and our percent complete will obviously be an ever evolving number as well. However, I really want to say that the staff is doing an incredible job. My expectations, as you can see by these months, number of returns filed by month here at the end, and then even the weekly chart right under it, you can see that the drastic majority of these returns come in right at the April 1 deadline, or are postmarked April 1, and we receive them thereafter. That's why that number is continuing to go up. My expectations were to see this percent complete drop somewhere between 15 and 25%, and the staff has maintained it above a 40% level. That is big kudos to Terry Vujic and her staff, as well as Brandon Jones, the auditor supervisor. The personal property staff is doing an excellent job. And I also want to thank our clerks. This is the first year they've actually done the processing of the mail coming in, so that the personal property team did not have to stop and process mail. They could just continue to process the returns and work through that. So it kind of kept them moving forward instead of stopping, doing mail, and then going back to it. They've been able to keep a steady progression, and both teams, for a first year implementation of kind of a new process, both teams have done excellent. So I did want to just take a quick moment and thank the clerks and the personal property staff for all their hard work. I don't have anything to show you on the commercial side. However, I will mention that the apartments, hotel, motel, and self-storage are about 97% complete. I'm saying 97% because we just want to go back through them one more time with a fine-tooth comb and make sure every 299C that should apply based on appeals still is applying. If there's a Senate bill sale that should be applied to the property, that it is applied properly. Just final cleanup to make sure that those are 100% finalized. We do have a push this week to get our mobile home parks and our warehouse downtown coating finalized as well. And then go back and do all final cleanup the following week prior to our lockdown on the 23rd. Those are the goals. Those are fully expected to be completed. I don't see any issues why we will not complete them at this time. And so that's the update on personal and commercial.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions for personnel and commercial property? Hearing none, we're moving on to specialized assessments. Mr. Roundtree.
All right, Keldrick, could you please get the first page of specialized assessments up? I think it's page 1 of 5. All right, so the first 2 pages are all conservation use applications where we are recommending approval. So this first batch that we typically send to the board prior to the month of the assessment notices are the ones where we have a higher degree of confidence that these are qualified ownerships and qualified uses for conservation use. The first 3 were the Walker family, actually an existing covenant, and their mother passed away. So they took the option that's allowed to them to file for a new covenant. So they'll be starting on these particular 3 properties as a new covenant and effectively ending the covenant that their mother began. The balance of the recommendations are all renewals of covenants that started 10 years ago. And these owners have come in to renew and continue to promise that they will keep the use as agricultural or some type of conservation use. Let's see here. Keldrick, I think there's a couple more here on the second page. There we go. And so in all these recommendations, we're just sharing the basic property information, acreage, what type of covenant it is, and the effective use of the property that would qualify it for this covenant. And before I move on to the next category of specialized, are there any questions on the conservation use? Okay, Keldrick, can you go to the next page? So these are enterprise zone applications that we received new for 2021. And I'll remind the board that the enterprise zone application is actually administered by the Housing and Community Development Office. So they are the approving body for these covenants. And they send that information to us, and we ensure that they meet the value requirements and get approval to place these on the tax digest, although they have already been approved as qualified enterprise zone properties. All of them are residential in Laney Walker enterprise zone. Most of them are single family homes, save for the last one on 1232 12th Street, which is actually an apartment building that is qualified. And the TBD there was because I had not seen the finalized values for the income approach that Brian's team has been doing. And we will, of course, have that value submitted to y'all and all the final values at the next board meeting. Let's see. All right, Keldrick, next page, please. Let's see here. All right, so these exempt properties, similar to the CUVA properties, are all properties where we have a high degree of confidence after field verification that these are properties that should be approved and are qualified for full tax exemption. I'll quickly run through the list. The first is a vacant lot that's actually cleared and fenced and used for storage and other purposes in conjunction with the building next door owned by the Augusta Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association. The following 5 properties are owned by Augusta Heritage Academy, and they utilize these parking areas to the south of Telfair, actually the south of Telfair, south of Green, north of Telfair, adjacent to their school for parking for the school and also the adjacent building that's under construction for their childhood education. The last on this page is an office building and a former bank. It's that round building in front of Goodwill on Washington Road that Goodwill has acquired and has moved their executive offices into that building. All right, next page, Keldrick, please. And it looks like all of these were churches. These were either applied for independently by the new owners, or we reached out to these particular churches and let them know that they could potentially qualify if they're using these buildings as churches. And we got a good response from all these new owners. And all 4 of these have been verified by the commercial team as churches that are in use. And we recommend approval on these and all the exempt recommendations. And I'd like to thank William Griffin and Chase Woods for quickly, scrambling and checking out all these exempt properties so they could determine their qualification. And that is it for our specialized assessments. And I'll entertain any questions if there are any.
Do we have any questions for specialized assessments? Hearing none, if we're all in favor of the staff recommendations, we need an order accepting the staff recommendations.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept all the staff recommendations.
All in
Second.
favor, signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. We're moving on to the chief appraiser report.
All right, let me hit the share screen. Okay, y'all should see an office status report. Everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll remind everyone once again that our agendas are now available online. If you have any need to pull them up, if you can't find the email, you can go to our either county website through the Augusta-Richmond County main webpage or the BOA specific website, AugustaRichmondTaxAssessor.com, and you can find all agendas back to the beginning of the year on that page. And thank you, Keldrick, for setting that up for us. Oh, there we go. Of course, we heard at the beginning of the meeting about the new appointments to the Board of Assessors from District 9, Mr. Middleton, and District 10, Mara Dial. Congratulations to both. Welcome back, Mr. Middleton, and welcome to the Board of Assessors, Mrs. Dial. We're happy to have you here. And of course, we'd like to say thank you to Chairman Lee for his 25 years of service to the board and to the property owners of Augusta-Richmond County. Hopefully we can tell him that in person soon. All right, moving on to some updates from Department of Revenue. These do not have to be approved, but I like to make mention that the conservation use and forest land values have been provided to us by the Department of Revenue. Additionally, now they have to provide a qualified timberland manual and rule book that they update every single year. And they notified us that that is prepared. So we should, at some time in the next month or two, find out if any of the forested properties in Richmond County have applied for the qualified timberland assessment. All right, field discovery. So Brian mentioned the hard work of his personal property staff, and now we'd like to give kudos to the residential and commercial teams for all of their hard work. We have effectively completed all permits that we needed to review this year, over 5,500, and have field checked over 15,000 residential properties for the neighborhood review project. 15,600 was the approximate number. And in the last month alone, that team has done 5,300 reviews in the field of residential property, and that is a lot. So I'd like to thank them and let them know that their hard work is helping us move this digest forward in a direction it needs to go. The field reviews, of course, are followed by a lot of quality control and analysis, and we'll be continuing that work until our scheduled cutoff date for data entry of April 23rd. Regarding the residential neighborhood reviews, there have been about 140 neighborhood revaluations proposed and completed by the staff. That started with a number of about 334 neighborhoods that we identified for potential review. It's hard to see on that small map, but majority of those neighborhoods are in the northern end of the county, where it says 1, that's our zone 1, and then also zones 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've kind of covered West Augusta and the Bel Air Road area and Somerville and East Augusta and downtown, and also off of Gordon Highway and Bobby Jones, and have gotten feet on the ground in all those neighborhoods, and should have close to 140 to 160 revaluations proposed at the board meeting next month. Of course, Brian mentioned the personal property returns. And he noted that the last couple of weeks is when they really get them all in. And my estimate was that we got over 3,600 of those returns filed since our last board meeting. And that hard work of the staff shows they've done over 1,200 returns since that time as well. So we are about 41% complete with the processing of those returns. So great job, personal property. Thank you. All right, so it seems like we talk about appeals every month, but there's still some going on, and we're almost at about a year's worth of work from 2020 that's still ongoing. I will say that I'm pretty sure we've only got 1 or 2 actual hearings remaining due to rescheduling issues. The bulk of the appeals have been heard. A handful have chosen to elevate to the superior court level, and we will have some settlement conferences with those property owners to see if we can't settle those appeals and prevent having to actually go to a court hearing. To the left-hand side there, you'll see the actual valuations and how they've shifted. Of all properties that were under appeal in real estate, our 2019 valuation was approximately 900 million, and the value increase was over $600 million to 1.57 billion. And the asserted values of those properties were just at $1 billion. And currently the valuations of those properties are 1.4 billion. So relative to the assessment notices, we did lose some valuation, but compared to the prior year, there's still a net gain in the values of all of those properties. So there was a lot of hard work involved in those appeals to ensure that we were accurate and defending the values where we thought that we were valid. Okay, personal property, their final BOE and hearing officer hearings were held in March. So the bulk of those were actually one property owner, AT&T, and their hearing officer was on March 11th, I believe. So we are awaiting for personal property and also for real estate the 30-day time frame with which those property owners can elevate to superior court should they choose to. Otherwise, we resolve those appeals and move on. All right, so here's our first big look at digest developments for 2021. I'd say that the digest this year is closer in percentage increase rather to not last year where we did a major inflationary change, but kind of between last year and typical years. Typical years, we see a value increase around 2.5%. This year, we're seeing a growth from the prior year of 4.8% approximately if we compare it to our active value file. And if I'm just comparing the digest that we submitted to the Department of Revenue last year to what our values are now, we see just over a 3.5% increase. The bulk of those value changes are inflationary reasons where we have revalued neighborhoods or self-storage or hotel motel or multifamily. That's providing for a large amount of the value increase. That inflationary growth, as we call it, is approximately 320 million today. And I'm certain that that number will shift, which direction we'll see by the end of this month. So overall, we're definitely seeing positive growth in both new developments and inflationary adjustments. And that is where we sit today with the digest with 1 month to go before we finalize those numbers. All right, talk quickly here about a couple of projects we've been working on. The cell tower solution project, which was begun at the beginning of the year, is essentially complete in the field. I think there's still a couple of sites, Brian, if that's correct, that they need to field visit. The bulk of the cost data that CTS has been working up has been provided to staff for them to begin review and analysis. So the next steps of that project are the completion and review of that data, review of the 2021 returns that the cellular companies are providing, and then a deep look at how we're going to implement and when any recommendations provided by Cell Tower Solutions. So we expect that their part of the project should be ending towards the end of this month or early May. All right, Pictometry. So a little more activity going on with Pictometry recently. Their flights are actually complete, and they are doing their quality control to deliver our AccuPlus product, which was the high resolution and rectified imagery from the 2021 flight. We did meet last week with our technical representative to discuss the Change Finder project, which will compare this recent flight to our flight from 2018 and identify any changes in the physical structures on a property. And so we're starting to set up and planning for that, and expect delivery hopefully sometime in the late summer. Our other big project, which is continuing to consume most of our time, is of course the Tyler IIS World CAMA conversion. We are meeting with them weekly with a weekly update meeting on Mondays and division training meetings weekly for commercial and real estate, for personal property, and for assessment administration. So we will be concluding that training fairly soon and be getting into more advanced training in the coming weeks. The tax commissioner's office is actually planning to implement their go live date for their Tyler project at the beginning of next month. So that will bring some interesting changes, and we'll see how the first department going live affects the daily workflows, and start working with them on making sure that everything runs smoothly for our digest developments. All right, training and education. So last month, we started a process, thanks to the help of Brian Funk and personal property manager Randy Gursey from Columbia County, where we worked out a reciprocal in-office days with TAO staff, where we sent staff to their office, and then a week or so later, they sent staff to our office, where essentially they're discussing work processes and best practice and collaborating with them to see how other people are doing the same job. Future training, I think, is to be determined, but we liked how things went with that first attempt, and looking forward to planning some other divisions or teams to go over to Columbia County and vice versa to learn from them. And I put some comments on here from Randy, who emailed me after their visit to let me know how much information that they gained and learned, and they're already preparing to revise portions of their auditing program based off the information they got at the visit. And he had sent kudos to Brandon, Amber, and Linda, who were all beyond courteous and took the time to thoroughly answer all of our questions. I'm thankful our counties are able to work closely together and appreciate the opportunity provided. So this was a successful first step, I think, with working with our neighbors to the north. All right, Ms. Burney added this agenda item, and I'll mention it as well, that we just received notification that Jekyll 2021 is scheduled and registration is now open. They will be having in-person classes, and we will talk today and then tomorrow about who and what staff will be attempting to get into this conference. I do know that they have really pared down numbers. I don't know what they used to be typically, but I believe about 150 slots are available for registration. So we will have to move quickly to see who we can get signed up for that conference. In addition to that, the Department of Revenue released a lot of in-person and online classes for scheduling last week, and we quickly signed up a lot of folks who have been waiting for education that really needed their annual training or training to advance to additional appraisal levels. So we'll have staff going to course 1A, the fundamentals of assessors, course 2 for income approach, course 3 for personal property, and course 5 for management from now until July. a quick update of our ongoing budget. The personnel expenses were at about 78% of the budgeted amount as of the report date. I guess you'd expect for one quarter that'd be closer to 75, but some of the payroll expenses were not actually paid out until April that were incurred in March. And then with operating expenses, they were just under 43,000 for actual and encumbered expenses. And the primary expenses for the first quarter were our third-party annual contract payments, which we typically pay at the beginning of the year, and then our allocated vehicle maintenance costs, membership fees, and cellular expenses, which we incur due to our mobile field devices. All right, so that's it for the office update. I'm happy to answer any questions about what I presented here or any other questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Scott, Mr. Roundtree?
No, I'd just like to commend them for the effort to have a good working relationship with the office in Columbia County. Lord knows we need our offices working together, and so that's a good example that hopefully other city departments can emulate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Moving on to other matters, Ms. Burney wanted to discuss board chairman in-service session and the summer conference. So we'll go ahead and start with the
board chair. Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to, of course, start by saying that I would like to add my thanks officially in his absence, to Mr. Lee for his years of service to the board and to the citizens of Richmond County. In as much as his tenure will be done on April the 25th, we should not be without a board chair until our next meeting, but we need to take care of that today so that on the 26th, there is a person in place. In as much as we don't have our own personal bylaws, our governing document is Robert's Rules of Order. And Robert's Rules of Order state that for an unexpired term, the vice president is moved up to fulfill the unexpired term. And so what we're dealing with is an unexpired term. So to that end, I would like to make a motion that we move Renee Denton, the vice chair, up to board chair to be effective April the 26th.
all in favor?
Well, you need to ask for a second, and then if there's any discussion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Moving on
Call
to
for
the second.
abstentions. No call, make sure that there's no objection, so just call for that. You call
Are there any
for the
objections?
Okay.
Hearing none.
I think it's an automatic progression. If you look at your bylaws, and if Mr. Plunkett is there, he can advise us one way or the other. But it's my understanding that it does not need a motion. It's an automatic ascension to the position of chair once we don't have a chairman in place.
Yeah, that's
Vice
why I
chair.
started it off by saying Robert's Rules of Order says the vice president automatically moves up.
Then we don't need a motion to approve.
Well, Mr. Simpkins, this is Jim Plunkett. I think as a practical matter, the statute does not provide for the position of a vice chair. And so I think that a ratification and affirmation by the board is very appropriate. I also think at your next meeting, y'all should undertake to elect a vice chair again in the absence of the chair. I agree with Ms. Burney's reading that the vice president does take over based on both Robert's rules and the Georgia Assessment Administration Manual and things of that nature. But I don't think it's inappropriate to ratify that position. And that may be more appropriate at the next meeting once we have Ms. Dial able to vote on that as well. But I think procedurally, y'all were acting appropriately with Ms. Datnack rising to the chair, and then you will need someone else to serve as your vice chair.
Okay. So we'll take that matter up at the next meeting in May. So now I'm assuming that we'll move forward on to number 2, the in-service session.
Yes, what I wanted to propose to my fellow board members regarding this in-service session, I believe it is next month when we normally get our large packet of material for review. And as much as we have a new member, I'm sure that she would benefit from some kind of explanation as to how we approach that material and how it's reviewed. And my personal feeling is that it would not hurt the rest of us to also receive that review so that we are all looking at that information and we're evaluating it appropriately the same way. So I would like to suggest for feedback, if anyone else is interested, that we take 10 minutes at the next meeting and discuss that review.
I can concur with that. All in favor with that in-service session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The ayes have it. We're moving on to the summer conference. Ms. Burney?
Yeah, basically Scott covered it. The only thing I was gonna say that if we all read the email, then time is of the essence of anybody that wants to go. We have to let Ms. Coleman know right away.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And I would say that Ms. Coleman will probably want to get online in the early side of tomorrow. So if you, first thing as early as we can, considering that the number of slots that are available. So if any board members would like to attend this year's Jekyll session, please let her know as soon as possible. If not, I guess sometime tonight or in the morning. Or right now, if you're ready to say yay.
Yeah, or right now.
Because
the online information is available 24/7. So registrations are ongoing. So if you would please today, if at all possible, but no later than first thing in the morning by, I would say 9 a.m., just so we can secure whatever is available.
And to reiterate the dates, that's July 18th, and that's a Sunday, where they will have registration for the conference. The conference proper begins on Monday, the 19th, which will be an opening breakfast and seminars throughout the day. Tuesday, continuing with seminars and bingo night, which is a favorite of all. And then on Wednesday, finalizing those seminars and the conference finale, which was actually at a water park this year. So I think they're giving you the option to attend or not attend if you don't want to go get wet. But that will be the final meeting on Wednesday. And I think that's it. I think everyone should have gotten an email from GWO. If you did not, let us know and we can email it to you with that information.
Are there any other matters for discussion?
I would like to get that email because I did not receive it.
Okay.
And I am interested in going, Ms. Coleman.
Absolutely.
Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Williams?
Yes, Ms. Chairperson. I motion that this meeting adjourn.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any noes? The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.